Stretch Panic is a game where you can do this. And we just got her panties like that, let's go. There you go, here's your nudity. I figured I was gonna be a big fan of this one since Treasure developed it. They know how to do their action games and they also know how to do everything involving grabbing. Sin and Punishment Star Successor is also really good if you haven't played that yet for some reason, but let's get back to the point. A cool company makes cool games that I usually like, and they know how to do all their action stuff. So you know, Stretch Panic, Treasure, hey, let's give it a whirl, right? Now, I will also have to admit that I only did get around to playing this game because during one of those goon discussion kind of VCs, one of my boys said, "Yeah, I remember having this one Treasure game on PS2 where you kill things and then you grab some titties." And that was my cue to go on the hunt. I'm just gonna say it out the gate that this isn't a Treasure game that you could really compare with other Treasure games. Like, yeah, it's all action all the time, but the pace of the action is far slower than in what I'd likely define as a regular rodeo with a Treasure game. The challenge, once you figure out what you're doing, is also almost non-existent, but it's still kinda unique. It's different, which I'll always end up appreciating in one way or another, so let's just get right into it. So the game hits us with a stone cold opener that gets presented like a comic. Basically, a bunch of Amazon warehouse employees decided to take their anger out on our main character's sisters. And we don't like that very much. So bam, we're dropped off into the hub world, and it's all abstract and stuff. I kinda like it. If you feel like putting a name on everything and understanding what the hell is going on, you're gonna have to use a forbidden ancient technique. That technique is called opening the game's manual, and fuck! I wish I could say something like that about games coming out now. But yeah, opening the game's manual gives you a nice little rundown of what's going on in the story, and on top of teaching you moves that the game doesn't care to explain to you, we also get these illustrations of the game's bosses along with the backstory and a little hint to help you land some huge hits on them. I really do miss those game manuals that had a lot of effort in them. I appreciate that the game sticks to its guns by mostly being played with the shoulder buttons and the analog sticks. This is because mostly the right analog stick would just be reserved for something boring like camera control, but you know, here we kind of use it to like aim our shots and do our things. But god damn it, this game does not have a fucking camera, I'll tell you what. In Stretch Panic, we don't know who the fuck Face Buttons is, and we don't give a shit about a stupid whore named D-Pad. So this whole game is basically a boss rush, which I'm so down for. I love Fury, so you know I'm all about those boss games. Getting my camera gripes out of the way, I can see why a lock-on feature exists in this game because of the EX levels, which have multiple enemies. Strafing and lock-on is also useful, but holy shit, why is like the regular camera in this game patient 0 on AIDS 2? A lot of the time the camera would struggle either tracking bosses, especially those who could fly, or giving any sort of useful information on where projectiles or obstacles are going to be or just start hitting you from. You're mostly on your own as you use the right stick and the shoulder buttons to aim your hand and go in for that squeeze like the chauvinistic pig that you are.
I wrote a blog post a while ago about why I f***ing hate video games, because this is what it does. It appeals to like the male fantasy.
The camera's limited control just kinda sucks. I'd appreciate being able to use either the face buttons or the D-pad to adjust at least some kind of zooming in and out if we're that adamant about not having a free cam in the game. Controls wise, that's where my gripes end. But it's a huge blow to the game, especially when you're trying to aim to grab onto something and the camera just has its pleasant little moments, like this. To spin it in a brighter light, I love how everything having to do with attacking is mapped to the right side of the controller. Adding more power to your stretches, shooting your hand to go grow, and yeah, you know, all that stuff is just on the right side of the controller.
Oh yeah. Oh, that's what she's doing. She's not like slapping them, she's pinching them. Ow! She's pinching and then pulling on their titties.
Then, on the left side of the controller, we're just mainly playing defensive. And the only defensive options that we have are pretty much just moving away from attacks and switching between a strafe or the game's regular run cycle. I'm pretty sure this should be present in plenty of other games as well, but seeing how disconnected attack and defense kinda are in this game just led me down to realizing that, and I also think that it's pretty cool. Along with stretching, you can also stretch and rotate the right stick to max out the meter and launch yourself toward whatever you were stretching. This is useful for those EX levels and is satisfying as hell to land on boss fights. Like, look at this shit. God damn, Linda's a demon. There's also these things called points. When you land heavy damage on enemies, you get to build up points. This is why the EX levels exist. Your obstacles are these massive breast tissue, because to score any points off of these broads, you're gonna have to hit them in their figure. This shit can get really hard. I'm gonna say it's probably a skill issue on my hand, but I'm never really confident as to where I'm launching the hand. You can also get points on boss fights by hitting their weaknesses. These are all situational and vary from boss to boss, but my favorite one has to be the sand boss that does his tornado move. If you lead him into the water, all the sand hardens up and you get to retaliate big time by launching yourself Osama style at his rock tower. So, points are necessary as payment to further bosses in the game, but it also costs 5 points to use a move to exorcise your sisters of these demons that have possessed them. Basically, my dumbass didn't know that just beating the bosses isn't exactly the goal in this game. I was playing without any instruction manual guide, so most of my fights were just me light pinching the fuck out of everything until it died. It was tedious, it was dumb, but it was on me for not knowing how to play the game. Sure, you can beat a boss, but it is never truly dead until you use those 5 points, click both of your analog sticks, and spend at least around 5 seconds on your special exercising move. You know you hit it when the weird guy starts floating around mid-boss fight. Thankfully, you don't have to finish the fight via this move, it just has to have made contact within like whatever little time frame that it has. Beating the boss after using your exercising move over there will get you one of your sisters back. So initially I beat all the bosses like in an hour, but I needed like a little hour and 30 minutes extra to free the sisters because I had to redo them all. It's a really short game. I don't think I really hate any of the bosses in this game, except that space one, because goddamn the camera's ass and we really shouldn't be doing all this here. But bosses are really all that Stretch Panic has going for it. I'm glad with what we got for the most part. All of them are pretty damn unique and each have a crazy way of getting extra damage off or just putting damage onto the boss to like begin with. It's fun to hit these goobers. The only real difficulty spike I'd say would be with the last boss, but after figuring out what you're doing, you won't really be dying that much. Doing things like stretching the hammer half of a boss fight so it buries itself in the ground, or knocking off the facial features on a bitch, it's all pretty fun. The soundtrack is kinda good, I guess? Nothing really stood out for me, but none of it is bad either. You know, it fits the bill, so we just keep it moving. Aside from the camera, my real like huge overarching issue with this game just comes from how half-baked the game just feels. These EX stages aren't really stages, as I said earlier, but having these little moments of using the hand to move around makes me feel like we're owed a bit more with Linda's moveset and the scenarios that we find ourselves in. Maybe a boost in difficulty was needed. It's also a shame that we don't get some sort of special extra boss after saving all the sisters. All we get is permission to view the credits without having fought anything new. Also, the fire in this game sucks, mostly because I cannot for the life of me tell when it's gonna hit me or not. It's not like we have some fast moving option or like a way to dodge shit in this game, so getting hit off the fire just always felt cheap as hell. The game sadly is really nice to you on health. Both you and the boss have the star icon on the HUD, and whoever fills up first, which is done by taking damage or dealing damage, is the one who loses the fight. A lot of the treasure style is in here. The sound effects are slick, the visuals are kinda sick, while being minimalistic, but it just feels like we're being, you know, we're just playing this shit at a snail's pace. It also doesn't help that it's one of like the only treasure games where I'd say the camera sucks ass. To close it all off, I just wanted to talk a bit about this game because I did enjoy my time with it. I'm just having a hard time recommending it to anyone. I guess if you're someone that has to deal with HR a lot, you'd probably like this game. Don't get me wrong, I'm all for all this shit being in the game. I was just giving some recommendations. If you're looking for something different and quick to get to the meat and potatoes of, and even beat on the same day, then yeah, sure, give this one a shot. It ain't one of the good old treasure big ones, but I still find some charm in this and I had my fun with it. It's a bit clunky, but you could get used to playing around its clunkiness since the game is so damn generous with health to begin with. So as summer rolls around and we start seeing some of these IRL, just remember, don't stretch, don't panic. It's a bad idea. Ah fuck, the cops are coming.